the lifestyle creep of the second you have any spare money, you spend it because you think you've earned it or you deserve it, or times are tough and you just want to have a good time. If you can control that, you're in you're in a far better position understanding what your money is, how much of it you are spending on certain things, and how much you shouldn't spend on the stuff you don't fucking need.
Yeah. Welcome to Checks and Balances, brought to you by Partners Life. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today we've got an extra special guest, Reagan from Where's My Money, here to talk about how he's getting himself out of $1 million worth of debt.
Reagan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually genuinely excited to be back chatting to you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, so we've been wanting to do this one for a while. For those that don't know, Reagan runs a very successful podcast called Where's My Money, which has just had season 1. It's been out for a little while. You guys are working on season 2, but there is an amazing story around, where the podcast came from, where the influence came from. So that's what I'm really keen to have a chat about today.
Yeah, well, it was a genuine situation. What better content to create than something that's real? This was the end of last year. Me and my partner had realized that pinch was really gripping us, and I just started to panic. We were out of money. Our mortgage structure. Well, back step. We owe $1 million to the bank after we bought our second house, and we were living off our revolving credit. So our plan was to earn more than we spend, pay off our mortgage a little faster. But with rising interest costs and rising costs of everything, we realized that the balance in our revolving credit was just hurtling towards zero. And we were basically 3 to 4 weeks away from hitting zero.
Wow.
How does that feel? When you conceptualize that, because we deal with a lot of people in different situations being financial advisors, but often it is like the head in the sand mentality, even when you know the train crash is coming.
Yep.
People put their head in the sand and go, oh, it'll work itself out. So what does that feel like when you're sitting there, you look at the math and you go, holy crap?
It's horrifying. It really, it's opened my eyes to how much money can actually play a part in how you think and feel and behave and live your life. Like it shouldn't be like that, but when you're running out of it, it really does. So I think trying to put it into words, because it's been a while since I've spoken about it in the podcast, and we've come such a long way, but to put myself back in those shoes gets really stressful again. I'd been cognizant that it was happening and wanted to protect Laura from thinking about it too much, because she's a new mum. She's got enough on her plate.
Yeah.
As the breadwinner, this is very traditional household roles, but I thought, I'm responsible for this because I earn more, so I should be taking care of it. So
I'll figure it out.
I'm going to protect her from that stress. And we'd come close a couple of times to kind of being in that situation, but I'd earned a bit of extra money from some extra side work, and it had kind of kept us out of it, So that little saving grace didn't happen this time.
Yeah.
There was no out. So we needed help.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very common feeling going, I can see kind of where this is at. I want to protect my spouse from that pain, and she's got a lot going on. Why do you think that thinking goes through, opposed to, at the time going, we're a team, let's talk through these things together? Because the other bit to your story, which it's, so many people are in the situation, which I'm sure is the feedback that you've described.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that was the thinking that was going through your head at the time?
We'd got used to it for starters. Like after we sold our first house for a decent profit, we definitely got comfortable. We weren't living, as it happens, we were living beyond our means, right? But we weren't living a lavish life. We were buying the things we thought we needed, and everything was comfortable. We could do what we wanted to a point, and everything just felt fine. So I didn't want to, I didn't want it to make it feel like we'd failed or I'd failed, because it did feel like failure.
Yeah.
Particularly that close to $0 in the bank account, that feels like failure. And after where we'd got to with buying houses, it makes me sound like I'm a learned investor. I am not. But after doing what we've been trained to do as Kiwis, like go and get a degree, meet the woman, try and marry the woman if she's nice, buy a house, start a family. We'd done all these things. So we were like on the trajectory to the Kiwi dream. So I didn't want to feel like, and I also didn't want my partner Laura to feel like we'd fucked it up or we were moving backwards or something was going wrong. So you want stability in your life. You know, my job had been changing a couple of times. So stability is just super important. And I don't know, you just want to feel like you're doing right by your family.
Yeah.
But again, looking back, doing right by your family is admitting something's wrong and actually going and getting it fixed or finding some help to get it fixed.
Yeah. I love the bit where you say like, we'd come close and something had happened and we just kind of narrowly escaped, right?
Yeah.
And like, so in my own situation, when I was moving back from the UK to New Zealand to buy a house, it was the exact same thing. Like at the last minute, some money would come from somewhere and I'd be like, oh, cool, that's taken care of. I don't have to admit to my ex or my partner about that. And like, it got to New Zealand to like, I'd had this credit card that I've been hiding and, you know, I'd always managed to just like sort it out. And we got here and we went to buy the house and I was like, oh crap, I've just run out of luck.
Yeah.
You know, like there wasn't that, I don't know,
it's like
shares that I bought something or like a gift or something, you know, or like an inheritance or like someone had passed away and you get some money. So it was always something like that just kept me from having to admit to my partner at the time, crap, I've got this 10K credit card sitting there. And I was like, it'll happen again.
Yeah.
I was like, literally like, no, it'll be fine. I'll get there and like, I'll be able to pay it off and I'll get a tax back from moving out of the UK or something like that. Just didn't happen. I was like, we gotta come clean.
We floated like that for so long. For context, working in radio, it was easy to get a voice agent because that's for someone in radio. Yeah. Generally, you've got an okay voice. You can go and sell your voice for ads, and you make good money off it. Yeah. And occasionally, those jobs would pop up. They pay well. They'd keep us afloat. It was a nice feeling. We're fine. But it's when a few unexpected costs come up, and then all of a sudden your balance has gone from here to here, and then. Like I said, it's the interest rates that really cooked us. When we bought our current house with $1 million worth of debt, you know, we paid $1.42 million for it. God, that's a lot of money. It's not even properly insulated. Like what were we thinking? Interest rates were 2%. Our monthly repayments were roughly $4,000, which was yummy, sweet candy interest rates. And now
it's true though, right? Like that is a sugar high interest rate. Yeah.
That's what I love. I love it when the economists talk about like the candy rush or the sugar hit. Yeah. I'm like the sugar water. I'm like, it was. I remember that. I was like, wow, so affordable. And now our repayments are $7,000, and that's so much money.
Yeah.
And realistically, you know, we've got help and we're in a better situation now. I'm sure we'll delve into that a little further, but our debt to income ratio, regardless of what interest rates are doing, is no bueno.
Yeah.
So something's going to have to give.
Yeah.
Eventually.
When you sold your first house, you mentioned there was a period of time where you sold the house. Did you rent for a period of time? Is that right? Or did you just go straight into buying the
We house? Went straight into buying. So we had our first kid and he was just turning 1 and we'd gone through COVID lockdown and we were like, we need a bigger house. We have a big dog. We'd spent a lot of time in this 2-bedroom kind of duplex house. We'd renovated the kitchen. We'd put a deck on the back. We were like, this is a good time to upsize because we needed something bigger. We were sick of being stuck in this room. And we'd added value to the property. So we're like, this is a great time. And during COVID, obviously,
we've done the right thing.
We had done what we'd been told, like add value to your property.
Yeah.
And again, at the time, property values were going through the roof. So selling was a good time.
Yeah.
We put our house on the market and it was online for 6 days. We had 1 open home. We had 50 couples come to view it. There was a line down the street to get into the open home because it was COVID. People had to wait outside, so it made it look like demand was hot. Mm. There was also 4 other private viewings in and around the open home. So within a week, we had 10 offers. And a house that we paid $685 for 3 years prior to that, we then sold for $980 for a 2-bedroom duplex unit.
Whereabouts?
In Te Atatu Peninsula.
Yeah. So you feel richer because you've gone, we made like 300,000.
Watch this.
Yeah. We'd caned it and we'd only spent 40 to 50 grand on renovating it. So we were like, we'd made $250,000 bucks.
Yeah.
Like, and dream.
Yeah. And what was your mortgage at that point?
So we paid 685. We owed 560 on it.
Okay, so mortgage about 560 grand, and at that time as well, right? There's always concern about the economy. Interest rates are continuing to come down. You're going, money is just getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, it would be stupid for me not to go bigger.
That's right. And I'm thinking about how little debt that was at the time. Interest rates were like 4.8 when we had the house, and that's kind of what we expect normal.
It's a normal rate.
Yeah.
Long-term normal.
So we sold the house and we had a pretty short settlement. I think we had 3 months to find a new one. So we were going to auctions and we had pre-approval all of a sudden because my income had just gone up. I'd got a pay rise recently, plus the newfound cash deposit we had from the sale of that house. All of a sudden the bank was like,
have at it,
motherfuckers! You can have 1.6 million.
Rock
Buy a
and
house
roll.
for 1.6.
Yeah.
We were pre-approved.
Buy Disneyland.
Buy Disneyland.
Do it.
We
Take
were
an island.
pre-approved
Yeah.
from buying a first house for 680 grand. The bank was then like, you can buy one for 1.62, and we're happy with that.
Almost impossible for because I was a mortgage broker at that time, and I just started becoming a mortgage broker, and I always say it's not always like the good times. Or I actually, when you were running through. We had the house on the market for 6 days, 50 couples, 10 offers. I was like, I had forgotten that. Like exactly what it was like. You could not lose. You literally, you could do anything and win. Yeah.
And what we did too, because we were already going to auctions at that point, we decided to go negotiation on it because we wanted to appeal to all the people that were losing at auctions at the time too, because we were in that exact same boat.
Yeah.
So if we can give people an opportunity to come and put their offer on the table without having the stress of an auction, I think we attracted a few more people in. So I think we were playing quite a smart game at that point. But all of a sudden we were armed with, the bank's told me I can afford a $1.6 million house. This is awesome.
Yeah. And what was the conversation you were having with your spouse at that time? Going like, should we max this out? Is $1 million of debt too much? What were those?
Did you even have the
conversations?
Did you even think about it, or did you default to the bank has said yep, so it's got to be a good move?
I think that it was mostly that. It was mostly the bank has said, well, the bank's the experts.
Yeah.
They're the money.
What do I know about
guys.
this?
They have all the money.
Surely they wouldn't lend me this unless they were so comfortable I could do this.
Totally. And when I looked at the numbers, I was like, we would owe $1 million. And at that point, like if we maxed out, we'd owe 1.2. Like, I don't think we had properly had the conversation. It seemed like a bit of a, because at that time though, we were more focused on finding a house rather than what we could afford.
As a sign of success?
Totally.
Yeah. If I think about that through my head, I remember when I got just thinking about I would see that as, guys, we're shopping for a house. We can get 1.6.
Yep. I just got a pay rise and a promotion. I felt I was on top of the world, We'd started our family. We had the dog and a kid. I was like, this is the Kiwi dream. This is it. But our focus wasn't on what we could afford necessarily. It was what we could find with the time frame. We didn't want to rent. I saw that as a waste of time and money because it costs to move. It costs us, there's setup costs involved, and
it's pain.
Yeah, it's a pain. So we needed to find something to move into that was going to be perfect for us immediately. And we went to a lot of auctions. We lost all of them. And then a colleague who I'd known for a really long time who lived in the same neighborhood as us was like, we're actually thinking of selling. Do you want to come and check our house out? And I was like, hell yeah, cool. So we literally walked from an auction that we lost, got in the car, drove straight to this house to go check it out. And we were like, this is actually perfect. It's got all the things we want. It's got a backyard for the dog and the kids. They said we can keep the trampoline, it's got nice wooden floors. It's got 3 bedrooms instead of 2. The kitchen's modern. It's not super flash, but it's like perfect for us. It's got a deck, yada, yada, yada. It's in the right neighborhood.
Perfect.
It's perfect. And they're keen to sell it to us privately. So we don't have to, there's no fighting for it.
It's literally perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we put an offer on what we knew would have gone for. We offered the 1.4 for it, knowing if it had gone to market and people would have fought over it, it probably would have gone for what we were approved for, which is 1.6. So in our mind, we were still ahead of the game. And technically on paper somewhere we'd made 200 grand again, because if they went to auction, we probably would have lost it again. So we went for it, and not really thinking about the fact that we had jumped from $580,000 worth of debt to more than $1 million.
So you settle on that house, and interest rates at the time, I'm guessing, were about 2%,
Yep.
were they?
I think
Okay.
we were like at 2.1,
Yeah, okay. And then, so your mortgage repayments at that time
$4,000.
were very manageable?
Totally manageable.
Yep. At what point did you start to go, start to look at it and go, this is getting a little bit uncomfortable?
I think the first jump was pretty much, it was like from 2s to 4s
Yep.
pretty quickly. And,
And-
that was a spicy kind of, I guess we'll have to swallow it kind of thing. Because at that point,
It's still all right.
and there was no cost of living crisis at that
Yeah.
point. Nothing else had started to spike yet. There was no inflation.
Mm.
You know, groceries were still kind of normal. Insurance companies hadn't started to really pump price.
Yeah.
It was all just, the mortgage got a bit more expensive. That's okay.
Maybe we'll go out to dinner once a week instead of twice a week.
That's
Yeah.
right. And because of this cushion of our revolving credit, we'll just swallow it. But
We've got some buffer.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your mortgage repayments, so they're at $4,000. Do you remember what they jumped to?
they probably jumped to 5.5 pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, you were like, I'm aware of what's happening. I feel the difference, but I'm not super uncomfortable. Is that where you were at that point? Or were you feeling quite
I,
stretched?
at that point, started to just head in the sand. Just,
It'll be all right. Everyone's going through this.
everyone's going through it. I'm comfortable. I'm sure I'll get another pay rise soon. I'll complain about it to everyone because we're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
And
everyone's
the more,
complaining about it. Everyone's in the same boat. It'll be fine.
the
Yeah.
more people that agree with me, the better I'll feel about it.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of the mentality as well, you'd had some pockets of money land in the
Yep.
past, right?
And
Where
those are
you-
still coming through every now and then.
Yep.
I'd spend some on myself and put some on the mortgage, treat myself, but also try and help
Make
our
the right
situation.
decision.
Yeah,
Yeah. Were you starting to eat away at that revolving credit at that point?
totally. I mean, we'd already, we needed to upgrade our family car because ours was old and it was growing. So
Got
we
the
bought,
kids
we
and-
bought a bigger car, but we bought a brand new one instead of what could have been a secondhand one. We were starting to make probably not the most fiscally responsible decisions. Do I need that TV? Yeah, I do. I'd girl math or boy math, whatever it is. I'd convince myself into a few purchases that probably weren't entirely necessary.
Yeah.
Looking
But
back.
at the same time, everyone is doing this.
Yes.
Like the purchasing patterns and the consumer patterns around money, credit, debt is all almost identical across the entire country.
Yeah.
It is not like you're seeing people going, you know what, that first jump, I broke my mortgage and fixed for 5 years and hunkered down. Like no one did that, right?
Nah.
Because you're conditioned by the people around you and what they're doing. Like I said, the more people that are agreeing with me, I'm like, everyone's doing this. It's all right.
And how stupid. Like, I could have fixed for 5 years at 3%. I'd still be on it.
But it was
I
a
would
terrible move at the time.
Yeah.
And like you've got to remember that at the time, fixing for 5 years at 3%, you're an idiot.
People were talking about negative interest rates at
Yeah.
that point. We were like, the bank's going to pay you to have
Yeah.
debt. Like,
I'm
That
going
was
to have to pay on
actually
my
a convers-
savings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Boy, we
actually-
were wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, just this sounds like exaggeration, and you're right. We've been in pain for a while, and it's very interesting when you think it back to that point in time. But this is the reality of it, right? And I know this seems like an exaggeration, but this is what was happening at the time. You could not buy a spa in the country.
Rolex
You could
is
not.
gone.
You could not buy a Rolex. All the luxury cars in the market were sold out, and
Yeah.
there was like a 3-year wait. People just had the
Jet
cost of
skis?
money.
Couldn't get a jet ski.
The cost
Oh,
of money
God.
was so low
Yeah.
that people were just doing whatever the hell they wanted. No free lunches. There was free lunches
But you couldn't
left, right,
lose.
center.
You literally couldn't lose. You're making like 50 grand, 10 grand a month on your house. You're looking at the value going, I can make all the terrible decisions I want. I am still winning. Yeah.
and I don't, like, whose fault was this? Who is to blame?
Well, yeah, this is a tricky question, right? Because you have, in reality, what we've been through over the last, I would say probably 7 years, the entire thing has been engineered, right? So the sugar high everyone's spending in the economy has been engineered. The after effects has also been engineered. Like it's all by design. It's just that what was meant to smooth out the bumps exaggerated the bumps.
It's
Yeah.
very easy to go, somebody should something. If a different decision was made, you don't know what the potential consequences would have
True.
been. essentially what happened, so the global financial crisis in 2008 to 2020, times were, there was some ups and downs, but times were very good for a long time, and markets did not correct for a long time, and it should have happened, and we were very well overdue for it. And
2018 should have, at the latest,
COVID was that drop,
Yeah.
and reserve banks went, because obviously a pandemic is different, reserve banks went, we can't let this happen, so we're going to drop interest rates. Now, the consequences of not dropping interest rates, I don't know what they would have been, but essentially, it's like you're at the party at 2 a.m. and people are like, we should probably go home, and the reserve banks around the world would be like, nah, let's keep this thing going.
Another round.
Yeah. And then it all got kicked down the can 18 months with high inflation that then led to high interest rates that has now led to an economy that is has no confidence.
Yeah.
And that's where things are right now. So who is to blame? I don't know. But do you know the funny thing about this is, so we are very confident 2025, 2026, we're going to be back off to the races. Time's going to be good again. And it sounds like you've learned a lot from this process. There is a hell of a lot of people that haven't learned anything.
Yeah.
And you watch when interest rates, 1 year housing rates goes back to 4%, and people will be making the exact same decisions.
This is what I've learned through getting, some financial coaching, is the creep, the lifestyle creep of the second you have any spare money, you spend it because you think you've earned it or you deserve it, or times are tough and you just want to have a good time. If you can control that, you're in you're in a far better position understanding what your money is, how much of it you are spending on certain things, and how much you shouldn't spend on the stuff you don't fucking need.
Yeah.
I'm still guilty of it. Like I've learned these lessons and I know the consequences, but every so often I still slip, like I'm only
I've
human.
just moved house from like a new owner occupied house, and I have bought all my stuff with me. And it is it looks like a bomb site, right? The lounge is just chocker full of stuff. Is any of it useful? No.
Is any of it making you money?
No. I still need to go out and buy all of the useful stuff.
You're talking about 25, 26 though. I'm curious because, we can see interest rates starting to come down now, which is like warms my heart because I'm like, this is great. The pain there might be a glimmer of hope on the horizon in terms of interest rates coming back down. But what's not going to happen is everything else isn't going to get cheaper all of a sudden too. Like I know as inflation starts to ease, groceries aren't all of a sudden going to be cheap next week. The cost of my contents insurance isn't going to be cheaper. Like all these things, all the other costs that have gone up aren't going to come back down with interest rates. As far as I can see, am I right in saying that?
There is actually some drop in the price of food, across the country. And that basically some localized or kind of specific events really impacted the supply, particularly fresh food. So there is actually some drop in that. International shipping costs are also, when they come down, the prices do come back a little bit, but you are correct that just because inflation is reducing, that is just how fast things are increasing. Right? It's not like it's going, we'll get back to, dollar bags of lollies, right? They're always going to be $5 a bag now.
Because I'm kind of worried that the money I make back from, the interest that I'm paying on my mortgage has already been sucked up by everything else going up that's just going to stay there. All my other fixed costs, like rates have gone up, water's going up, electricity's gone up.
Insurance,
big time. That's not going to come back down at the same rate, right?
No, I think, so probably two things. One is, hypothetically, if food prices did come down, you will never hear about it. You think about, a hell of a lot more about the media than Mike and I do. What sells clicks? It's fear. It's not a good news story. The share market, S&P 500 dropped 5% in a day. You heard that all day long. When it bounced back a week later, nobody said anything. So that's probably one thing I did. If food prices did drop, nobody would know. The second thing that I would say, which you're absolutely right, is all these costs over a period of time went up probably like 20%, and incomes didn't move 20%. And then you look at the inflation number and you're like, great news, inflation is 3.4% instead of 7%.
That still means it's going up.
Yeah. And then you're like, but my costs have gone up 20% and my income has gone up, or I'm lucky still to have a job is the big part right now. You think about the unemployment number. So you're 100% right that, while mortgage rates will come down and you'll have more disposable income, your income hasn't gone up enough to deal with the impact of inflation.
No. And for us, our debt to income ratio won't have changed because we're still paying the majority of our repayments as interest, not principal. Realistically, without getting a huge pay rise or Laura getting a second job, which is, she's already got a second job. She's being a stay-at-home mom and a full-time employee. I don't know how she does it.
Oh, 100%.
Like, it just the maths don't math for me, and at some point something will have to give for us in terms of probably downsizing or changing our model. And what that is, we're still investigating options.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, you made the comment about renting?
Yep.
So I do think about, like, Kiwis look at the sign of success of owning a piece of dirt. Your parents are proud of you. People are like, oh, they've really got their shit together.
Yep.
And I look at those that rent, and obviously the risk with renting, the thing with mortgage repayments, right, is you've got an asset that's going up in value, you've got forced repayments, paying down some debt. It's a form of forced savings. But hypothetically, if you're good with money, you could buy investment properties, invest into shares, and grow your wealth another way. Do you look at renting at all differently now?
Absolutely, particularly in Auckland, because the cost to entry for investing in property in Auckland, as we know, is way higher than other parts of the country, and particularly in if you want to be an owner occupier in Auckland in a nice area, you've got to be earning a shitload of money. Like it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A central suburb, leafy streets, you're talking
That's a big income.
$2.5 million for a decent house.
Yeah.
That's gonna fit a decent family with a dog and all the things that
That's
we want.
$400K of income at least.
Whereas I could rent one of those houses for say $1,100 a week.
Yeah.
in an okay suburb.
Yeah.
And then own 2 investments in other growing parts of New Zealand and probably see a bigger increase because the demand is growing in those. And that's the kind of thing that I've learned now, and I'm now considering: do I, for the next 10 years at least, do I need to own the house I live in, or can I make money better, faster out of Auckland to then invest back into Auckland in 10 years to finally own our dream house?
Why do you think New Zealand is? Because like you look in other parts of the world, right? Especially in like parts of Europe where renting is very common. People rent their whole lives. Why do you think it matters whether you own or rent as like these people are successful or not? Because what you're explaining seems to me to be super logical.
Yeah, I think it's that mark of success. It's that feeling of comfort knowing you can paint a wall or put up a picture, or if you damage it, you can fix it. It's control, it's security and safety, knowing it's yours. Particularly when you have a family, you don't want risk when you've got kids, right? But again, even though you go to that model of renting and having investment properties elsewhere, it's funny that the goal
It's still the same.
It's just delaying that goal of owning a house.
It's a different way of getting to the same outcome.
But if I can own that house mortgage free in 10 years, then that's a different story. Like I'm not just going to defer having debt on my house further down the road. I want to make money fast in the next 10 years to then own a house outright, so I can then have disposable income to continue to invest.
But I would still argue with you, Reagan, at that point, right? So if we do the math right, say you buy that $2.5 million property debt-free.
Yeah.
$2.5 million, even into like a managed fund that after fees and tax pays you like a 5% net return, that's probably like 120 grand in passive income a year you get without touching the capital, right? And then you continue renting, you've still got cash flow, this soaking it all into a house. So
technically I wouldn't have to work.
Yeah.
I could rent and use...
Well, because you've got that rental expense of around 50K a year, 60K a year. So you're after passive income.
I could work part-time.
Yeah.
I could work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Live in a nice house and have almost passive income.
Yeah. You think about like on a $2.5 million house as well, your rates, your insurances, and all the maintenance costs. I've got a $7,000 concrete job waiting for me. I know I need to do something with my roof at some point. I've got a heat pump that I need to fix. I've probably got like 20 grand of costs lined up at my place that I need to deal with.
Yeah.
And if you're renting, you just call somebody up and be like, fix this stuff.
Yeah.
Fix it now.
Yeah.
And also, like, you imagine the psychology and how your mind changes how you think about work. If you're like, it's 3 days a week. I don't actually have to be here. Like, like I could probably make this work if I didn't want to. Like the quality of life and your attitude towards your work would change significantly. If you're like, I'm here because I love it, right? Like there must be aspects of your job that you love, and you're like, I love doing
Absolutely.
this. Yeah. And
but
like,
it's still a grind. It's 9 to 5. I have to commute every day.
we're here on a Saturday. Yeah.
Here we are.
Before we move on, we talk all the time about planning and growing our wealth, but protecting that wealth is just as important. That's why having the right insurance in place can help when life goes unexpectedly.
And that's why this episode is brought to you by Partners Life, a New Zealand operated award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured and 89% of claims paid.
Partners Life understand that having some insurance is better than having no insurance. They have flexible and personalized solutions for any budget or situation.
Check out their website in our show notes below.
So we spoke about the leafy green suburbs, $2.5 million houses.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody recently. They had an income like $500,000 between them. And I was doing the mortgage calcs. And I was just like, this works, but like not by very far. Like owning a $2.5 million house, which once again in Auckland, you look at what you get for $2.5 million.
Still ain't great.
No, but say if you want your kids to go to like in a nice school zone, you want to be somewhat near like the rest of the city. It's very hard to get it to work.
I mean, like it's all relative, right? Like there are some beautiful places for $2.5 million. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And like I think it's all relative to the earnings and what you want out of life, right? And like you can choose cheap and cheerful, expensive sadness, or somewhere in the middle, which actually is going to work, right? And like I think you think about the amount of people who choose expensive sadness because they look good, or it is projecting some type of like image of, it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? We see it all the time. When actually there's a balance to be struck somewhere in the middle. If you just know your numbers, stick to a budget. If all your friends are going on a trip to Fiji, you can probably do it as well, right? It's just that you don't feel guilty about it because it's all sitting on a credit card.
Yeah, totally.
We should update the name of the podcast to Expensive Sadness.
It'd be a great Post Malone tattoo under there.
Yeah.
Instead of always like Expensive Sadness.
Yeah, that's what I should have called my podcast. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So Reagan, I want to go back to like kind of, where you got to. So interest rates are about 4% and a bit. You started to eat away at that revolving credit.
Yeah.
Interest rates then jumped again, did they?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it was consistent. I mean, we thought we'd kind of gamed the system by splitting the mortgage in two and having overlapping fixed 12 months. So every 6 months we'd have to refix to kind of weather the storm or
more gradually.
More gradually, but it didn't really make a difference because the jumps were so huge anyway.
Yeah.
And at the peak, your mortgage repayments were sitting at $7,000.
Just under 7, yeah.
Okay, and immediately were you like, "Holy tomato, this is bad," or did you keep the head in the sand for a little?
There's a little bit of head in the sand, but I think when our revolving credit balance came down to like $3,000, it was like no, we're going to miss the next one.
Yeah. And what were those conversations you started to have?
They were tearful. They were there was not much sleep. I was, my skin broke out. I was terrible at work. I was constantly in a shitty mood with Laura and the kids. Like it was just, we had a second kid by this point, it was.
That adds some stress.
Oh yeah, totally. Sleep deprivation on top of it. It was just, it was not a nice time to be around me.
Yeah.
I was just walking around work like just angry at everyone.
Pissed off.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, were you able to, like, with how stressed you were you able to go, here are the options. We sell the house and rent, or we go talk to a financial advisor? Or do you think there was just so much kind of noise in your head about it all that you were just almost like paralyzed?
Yeah, paralysis by analysis. I think I needed help and I had to go to a financial advisor. I knew that selling the house was an option, but I didn't want to do that alone without good advice because it's the last thing we wanted to do, because that's a big change. That's a big shift, particularly with a new family. Like when not having the safety of the house to come back to was terrifying. So that was when we called on a financial advisor and a coach to actually look at the numbers and say, these are the levers you need to pull now.
Yep.
And that first conversation with a financial advisor, as you were going into the meeting, Did it take a little while? Just because I'm thinking about other people in similar situations. Like, I've heard things about like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm embarrassed about my situation. How were you feeling going in? Like, how were you feeling going into the meeting?
I almost had the relief knowing that help was on the other side of the door.
Nice.
So I was pretty relaxed, and I think I'm naturally probably a bit of an oversharer. Maybe it's working in radio for a decade.
Probably.
You're naturally a vulnerable person
Yeah.
because you're meant to be a storyteller and share things with listeners and your audiences. So, but when it came to this, I was like, how is hiding any information or any emotions going to help? Everything needs to come out here because this is make or break. Like this is a life-changing pivotal moment. We're going to lose our house potentially, not lose it, but have to sell it in order to not go bankrupt or,
face a worse consequence.
Yeah. So transparency was key.
And how did that first meeting go?
It was tearful because a lot came out. It was an eye-opener in terms of how money affects us as people, how it affects relationships. I felt guilty that I wasn't earning enough. Laura felt guilty because she's the one that goes and does the grocery shopping each week, so she's spending it all. And she thinks that I think she is the one who spends it all, and that was never the case. But because we didn't talk about money, we just rolled on with life because we're just busy people.
Yeah.
We weren't making the time to discuss things like that. Therefore, there was tension between us because it was just something we didn't talk about. And realistically, I never thought that about her, and she's not expecting me to just keep earning money. I'm not expecting her to not go and
buy
do
groceries,
the groceries, But that was a real pivotal moment in terms of our relationship, in terms of going, we need to talk about money.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to.
And what was the advice that you received in that meeting?
The first lever we pulled was to go on a mortgage deferral, immediately, because we were that close to running out of money. We needed to basically claim hardship with the bank. The other thing I've left out is that Laura was on maternity leave, so she wasn't earning.
Yeah.
That was the actual biggest last punch was we were down to one salary, and so we had about 3 days before Laura went back to work. Laura went back to work 4 months after having our second kid because we needed the money.
Yeah.
But we managed to get in time before her first salary had come through. So technically we were still in hardship, and therefore we got 3 months of full
repayment holiday.
Full holiday, not just interest only. It was full holiday.
Yeah.
And that was, obviously, we know that comes at a cost because it's just deferring that interest. But we knew that we just needed 3 months to stabilize, to really build a budget. We'd never stuck to a budget before. We'd just bought what we needed and rolled on with life. So we needed 3 months to stop flapping in the water, get our heads above the water, create a budget, stick to it, and start moving forward and build a bit of a surplus. Even though the surplus is a little bit artificial, it's there now. And it's kind of bought us more time.
Mike, in terms of financial hardship, I mean, I'm assuming you've had a lot of those sort of conversations over the past few months and last couple of years. A lot of people would go, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Why? In what scenario is that a good, lever to pull?
Well, it's a good lever to pull if you are staring down the barrel of not being able to make your repayments. And a lot of people are really hesitant to talk to the bank because they think they're just going to come in, whip the house out from underneath me, and it's all gone Pete Tong. Actually, your bank has a vested interest in you making the repayment. They don't want to sell your house. It is expensive. It is costly. It is time consuming. Then you've got to be the banker who's selling someone's house. Like, it's just not a great thing to do. So there are, and at the moment they are a lot more receptive, lenient. There's a lot more things you can do now than there kind of previously was, even say 7 or 8 years ago. They still have criteria they have to hit. They are lending institutions. They can't just be pushing pause on everyone's mortgage, but they are definitely there to help, to make sure that you can try and stay in the house and at some point repay, catch up, and keep going. And everyone has a different experience with their bank depending on how they approach and the story they tell, how receptive their bank is. Because unfortunately, sometimes the banker you get can make a really real difference into the outcome. But it is, you just need to have the chat quickly.
There were definitely hoops to jump through.
Mm.
It wasn't a fast process. They definitely made you prove it.
Yeah.
But realistically, what's more paperwork compared
Or
to,
losing the house.
having to sell the house?
Yeah.
They were non-judgmental. They were good. But again, it was a lot of work to get it done.
Yeah.
I think it's the word hardship that probably scares a lot of people
Yeah.
off. It makes it sound like you are, realistically you're in a shitty position, but it sounds like failure. It sounds like you are,
You've gone from
busking.
that 1.6 million being a sign of success to
A charity case.
Yeah.
Hardship sounds like you.
I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from living
city
on Queen
mission.
Street. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I had to get rid of that kind of those emotions and that view on it, because it was a lever we needed to pull in order to stabilize. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
So Reagan, in the next episode we're going to do with you, we're going to talk about what you've learnt from the podcast, from Where's My Money. I'd be keen, before we wrap it up, just so we don't keep it in a dark place. Tell us about where you're at now. So you first got financial advice.
Yep.
When did you get that? We're now sitting in August 2024. Give us an update on your situation.
We got we first started getting advice in December last year, and since then we've obviously built a really stringent budget that we stick to every week. Every Wednesday night it's money night.
I love that.
So we go through every transaction that we've made as a household that week, and we code it all so we can track all of our categories, how we're going in the takeaways category versus groceries. Are we overspending on gas? Why?
Do you use software for that, or do you manually do it? Or?
Yep. Software called MoneyFit.
Yep.
It's just really easy to use. It just tracks all the accounts you want to connect to it. We're still allowed to use we still use our credit card to earn some extra air points on the side. I know that that's sometimes a bit of a trick, but we've done the maths on it, and we are still
and
getting.
If it works for you, it works for you.
We're getting free air points out of it, which means Laura can go and see her family in Wellington a couple of times a year.
Perfect.
So, that's good. We can see how much we're spending. We're open about who's spending what. We can. It's a forum to discuss what's next.
Yeah.
We probably still shy away from that topic a little bit at the moment, because again, we want stability with 2 young kids. One's 4, one's 1, so we don't want to make any bold decisions just yet. But for the moment, we're stabilized, and we've just got confidence in the fact we're not shuffling backwards, and we know how to set goals now too. So,
cool.
We're going to Fiji as a family next month, which is
How
our
good.
first international holiday. And that was one of the things. I don't know if you ever heard the ads for the podcast on the radio, but it was me crying in someone's office going, I wish I could take George on a holiday. I feel like a failure. So to be able to take the family on a holiday next month feels like a nice little win. But I'm also super aware of the fact it comes at a cost. And not that I don't want to go on this holiday and regret spending the money, but we're not in a position yet where we can go on a holiday and just flippantly spend the cash. It sets our progress back a couple of months. So it comes at a financial cost, obviously, but it comes at a cost in terms of progress, in terms of us moving forward. And we're just more aware of that now. We want momentum in terms of building a surplus and deciding what's next. But there's a lot I've learned from our personal situation and from the podcast, which we'll obviously go into in the next step.
Cool.
I must say, Wednesday money nights as a financial advisor, that does excite me.
Yeah. I just love the fact that you're like, you know what, like the goal was to go take everyone on a holiday to Fiji. We're doing that, and I don't want to regret it. We're not going to flippantly spend money, but like, what a nice thing to do. And like, I've hit that goal. Just think about the flip side of that. If you were in that 2021 mindset, it all goes on the credit card. You'd be telling yourself, we got some air points out of this. And you'd be looking at that when that credit card bill came in the month after, and you would be, your heart would be going like this. You'd be like, oh crap, we've done it again.
It was hard. It was still hard booking this thing, but I know that the second I wake up on that morning, I'm going to be like, no, this feels good. This feels good.
Yeah.
So Reagan, before we wrap it up, there will be so many other Reagans out there where their head is still in the sand, but now they've been on 70% interest rates for quite a while, right? And they're feeling a lot of pain and they don't know what to do. Maybe they found checks and balances as their first point to go like, what should I do? What would you say to someone in your situation who hasn't had their financial awakening yet?
Sort your shit out. Be honest with yourself, because you're only cheating yourself. You're only lying to yourself. You're only if you're ignoring the problem, you're the only one to blame. If you're not going and seeking out, if you're not the person to fix it, like if you don't have the nous to fix it, like I didn't 6 months ago, you're the only one to blame for not going and getting help. There are so many organizations that you don't have to pay for advice. Some of them are free. There's free advice on the interweb, you know, like it's everywhere. But you have to start making the first step. Otherwise, it's not going to fix itself. It will not fix itself.
Awesome.
Cool.
So thank you for being so vulnerable with us, but it's kind of your job. So you're very good at it. So thank you for sharing it. For those that don't know, where can they find season 1 of the podcast?
Where's My Money? It's available on all your favorite podcast streaming platforms. You can follow us on Instagram as well. And we love getting questions and interaction in the DMs that we can ask some of our financial advisors on our pod too. We love giving little bits of advice.
Awesome.
And season 2 is on the way?
It is on the way. We're in the throes of getting it together now. So before the end of the year, we'll be right into season 2.
Great. Okay. So we're going to do another episode with Reagan where he shares all he's learnt from the podcast, because he's had all of these experts roll through and learned a hell of a lot on the way. The only way you're going to find out about it is if you subscribe to the channel, give us a review, give us a like. Much love to Partners Life for sponsoring the episode, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.